Back in the 1990s, the Japanese developer Quintet released a series of thematically connected video games on the Super Famicom/SNES. Despite their wonky 90s translations and certain problematic elements, they're interesting and I want to kiss them, mwah! I call this the Actraiser series after the first installment, an ambitious combination of side-scrolling action game and city sim. Aside from Actraiser 2, the others are top-down action games. I think they're all a lot better than Actraiser, again aside from Actraiser 2, which has incredible graphics anyway. Terranigma, by far the best, refines on all the flaws of the previous installments to make something, magical. I'm curious about Quintet's later Japan exclusive work too. Code R, for example, is a Sega Saturn visual novel/first-person racing game. What secrets does this disc hold? Look at the cover. This is not the cover of a racing game. What a hell indeed. As for the Actraiser series, although each installment is complete on its own, they're actually set in the same continuity. They all involve distinct images of God and Satan, or the Master and Tanzra as Nintendo censorship rendered it in English back then. In Actraiser and Actraiser 2, at the start and end of each action stage, we clearly see that the Heavenly Father is actually using some divine power to animate statues. We never see God, but only his avatars and angels. Most likely, God is a non-corporeal being, maybe those little lights flying in and out of the statues. In Illusion of Gaia, visions of an ominous head called Gaia guide Will. Gaia calls herself the source of life. In Terranigma, God and Satan are also called Light Gaia and Dark Gaia, respectively. The final boss in Illusion of Gaia is called Dark Gaia, and so must be another manifestation of Satan controlling the comet, really a living demonic weapon from his past wars with God. This confirms that the Gaia guiding Will is God, or Light Gaia. The head that speaks to Will is clearly a statue that God's animating, as in Actraiser and Actraiser 2. The gender change is irrelevant to a divinity. Satan features a blue glowing core in Actraiser, Actraiser 2, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma, that is, all the games he appears in. It resembles the Actraiser series' depiction of souls. This is Satan's soul, so to speak, animating his avatars in the same manner as Light Gaia does. In Soul Blazer, the Blazer battles Death Toll in some metaphysical realm called the World of Evil. This seems to be the same place where God battles Satan in Actraiser, and the setting of Illusion of Gaia's Tower of Babel boss rush. Though, admittedly, the dark space inside of which Light Gaia paradoxically spends Illusion of Gaia seems to be related to it somehow as well. How do we know Actraiser and Soul Blazer are in the same continuity? In both of them, the English translation calls God the Master, indicating the games are meant to be narratively linked. Although a weaker reason, when hurt, the Blazer also makes the same sound as God's avatar in Actraiser and Actraiser 2, suggesting all of them are heavenly beings. At the end of Actraiser, God decides to withdraw from humanity. This may account for why God is more aloof in governing human affairs in the rest of the series. Well, again, except Actraiser 2, which might be a prequel to Actraiser, the death of the angels near the ending explaining why God only has one angel left in Actraiser. However, all we can be sure of is that Actraiser 2 occurs before Illusion of Gaia. Why? Because outside the town of Humbleton, God battles the demon Pride in the Tower of Babel, which returns as a mysterious ruin in Illusion of Gaia. In the English translation, Nintendo of America changed Actraiser 2's Tower of Babel to Tower of Souls, since apparently, unlike Babel, Souls isn't a religious reference. But they kept the tower as Babel in Illusion of Gaia? Consistency, thy name is not Nintendo. Illusion of Gaia takes place after Soul Blazer. We can know they're in the same continuity because Will and his friends interact with the Moon Tribe. These entities also appear as enemies in Soul Blazer. A villain in Illusion of Gaia's slave trade subplot is a monster called Solid Arm, who has been traveling the world disguised as a human to reassemble its original form, unmistakably the first boss in Soul Blazer. Solid Arm also mentions that Blazer, presumably the angelic player character from Soul Blazer, defeated him long ago. How can we be sure Terranigma follows Illusion of Gaia? Because Ark can resurrect the land of Mu, the only fictional continent in the whole story, which played a large part in Will's journey. Additionally, in the final battle, Dark Gaia notices that Ark has two souls, combining light and dark power, and says, "Just as before." He's referring to Kara and Will merging into one body to defeat him at the end of Illusion of Gaia. But wait. Speaking of continents, every installment of the Actraiser series features an incompatibly different world map, and the last one, Terranigma, supposed to be set on Earth, albeit a wacky version. How do you explain that, YouTube guy? In Illusion of Gaia, a shadow of the Moon Tribe tells Will that the comet comes every 800 years, and that its approach this time around is the fourth one. In the ending, Will and Kara learn that the comets changed the layout of Earth's continents every time it passed. Only after defeating the comet and Dark Gaia does Earth revert to its natural form, our Earth. This is why, in Terranigma, the overworld appears as a basically accurate map of the real-life Earth. Each of the previous 3 passes of the comet resulted in a different world, accounting for the changes between the original Earth and the Earth of Actraiser, then the Earth of Actraiser 2, and then the Earth of Illusion of Gaia. On the 4th pass, Will and Kara destroy the comet. But aren't I forgetting the Earth of Soul Blazer? I admit this might be a flaw in my outline. All I can say is that the map in Soul Blazer seems to depict only the Frail Empire, and not the whole world. So either we assume one installment of the series isn't canon, most likely Actraiser, or that the Frail Empire is only a small part of the world map in one of the other games, probably Actraiser 2. Or, you know, that the writer Ohara Mariko wasn't thinking about how Illusion of Gaia'd have to be the 5th pass to account for changing Earth the first time. Also, for some reason, every installment of the series seems to feature a dog named Turbo. Except Actraiser and maybe Actraiser 2? I don't know, that one's too hard for me to make any progress. I don't know if Robotrek, Solo Crisis, or anything else fits into this series. Here we have Robotrek, or Slapstick. Gasp! This girl is Lisa's granddaughter, confirmed? Anyway, this is just a fun little lore kind of video, I guess. Taking the break from the horror of life kind of thing.